Oh, yeah. Oh, right. If there's one good thing about having a stroke is that I didn't have to go into work after the Christmas period. Alright? Already I can feel some of you both envying and resenting me at the same time, but because I've always worked hard and paid my taxes, okay, especially with all the overtime I've done and the hours I put in during the pandemic, and then supposedly having to be happy about 40% of it going towards the fucking Jubilee, while Hugh Edwards tells me that celebrating a poor elderly lady being wheeled around England to turn on some lights and stand on a balcony while thousands of people wave a plastic flag is just what I needed after COVID to make me feel better. You know, because I've always worked hard and didn't come off of a boat or spend my entire adult life claiming benefits, I can feel some of you looking for a reason to hate me now. You know, fucking bald-headed Welsh bastard. I hate people with bald heads that come from Wales. I wonder what football team he supports. Yeah, if I had a stroke, you wouldn't see me going to hospital or taking time off work to recover. You know, a real man goes to work after he has a stroke. You know, not rest on his laurels like a fucking pussy while the rest of us have to get up in the morning and go to work. You know, I bet you he voted for Keir Starmer. That's what it is. Fucking bald-headed Welsh bastard. You know, what football teams does he support? What football team does he support? You know, apart from me having an annoying voice, and just being a twat and trolling the kind of people who, in my real life, have made me miserable. Apart from me saying things that I know will purposely trigger those exact people, there isn't really any real reason to hate me beyond I didn't have to get up and go to work this morning, and you probably fucking did. Sorry. You know, I don't mean to gloat, but I certainly don't miss being sat in front of the television at 7 o'clock in the morning, all puffy-eyed with a stinking hangover, munching on my crunchy nut cornflakes before a hard day's work at the depot. You know, feeling like ITV are purposely throwing rocks at my head, just to get on my nerves, like an annoying toddler throwing Smarties every morning. You know, here's a loader with the weather, as if we don't already fucking know. You know, I wonder what the weather's going to be like today in Great Britain. I wonder what it's going to be like. Andy Pete just pops up with way too much positivity for an early morning television show in a country full of depressed, bitter, miserable cunts who hate the lives they made for themselves. Oh, hello, morning everybody. Win £100,000, a life-changing amount of money. The news, fucking Donald Trump and tariffs again, threat of World War III, hospital waiting times, again for the 40th year in a row. Somebody's nana half dead in the corridor being interviewed, and oh boy, I couldn't believe it. It was like being back in war times. I think there was a man next to me. I think he was masturbating. I think that's what he was doing. He was masturbating. Immigration, the economy, cost of living, footage of dead children being dragged out of rubble in war-torn areas in the Middle East, thanks to fucking politicians and fucking religion. Yeah, you know, is Sam Smith's new stage show really satanic? And if I'm not a good Christian, does that mean that when I die I'll go to hell and Sam Smith will smash my back doors in while dressed up like Bertie Bassett with devil horns and vampire teeth as he sings Stay With Me over and over and over again? You know, pigeons wreaking havoc at outdoor food stalls in Norwich city centre. Susanna Reid, she definitely cares about us regular folks with her tough questions and the way she contradicts whatever politician has been brought in as a guest on their way to work to deflect on whatever the latest topic is. David Beckham is talking about his son's social media posts, and do we sympathise with Brooklyn Beckham? Kerry Katona pops up, is she off her face again? Harry and Meghan, adverts for incontinence pads, gambling, credit cards, car finance, neglected animal charities. I don't want to hear about your vaginal itch. Alright, I'm trying to eat my fucking cornflakes. Left-wing newspaper editor versus right-wing newspaper editor, going around and round in circles without coming to any real conclusions about the issue that they're arguing about. Just to kill airtime, which is exactly how it's designed to be, giving us quotes and viewpoints that we can claim at our own when we're talking about politics on our break at work. Fucking Nigel Farage, Keir Starmer, Vladimir Putin. If I survive a nuclear war, will I still be able to get my monthly contact lenses from Specsavers, or am I going to have to wear my fucking glasses and have my sister calling me Christopher Biggins again? There's another celebrity with a book, inflation's going up, cost of living again. There's fucking Kerry Katona waving at the camera. Where's Ranveer Singh today? Where is she? Is immigration putting pressure on the NHS? Are we all smoking, drinking and eating the NHS and ourselves into an early grave because every day is so fucking bleak that nicotine, alcohol, caffeine and sugar are the only legal things that make our lives bearable, even though we already know it's actually killing us. But now we're all addicted, it's just too much of a ball ache to give any of it up. Andy Peters again. I mean, maybe if I do phone in, I might win that £100,000, and I can divorce the person I wasted the best years of my life with. Yeah, but because I wanted to do the same thing as everybody else and be seen to blend in and compete by getting married, taking out a mortgage and having kids, and seeing as this was the only person that was willing to fuck me on a Sunday morning, I thought it best to do the right thing. But we're both fucking miserable now, and neither of us want to lose the house, and we're too old, and we can't start again. But yeah, gotta be in it to win it. Here's Laura with the weather there again. Wet, windy, fucking cold, dreary. What a surprise. More adverts, gambling, car finance, pet insurance with that loud trumpet. Sounds like that theme from the beginning of Rocky. With all the tails wagging, women talking about pissing their pants. I'm trying to eat my fucking cornflakes. Politics. It looks like Reform are going to win the next election after all that voted for Reform, are giving it large in the workplace. But we won, we won Reform, we won the election. Yeah, until they realise it doesn't matter who the fuck the Prime Minister is, because the new government will always blame the old government for not being able to deliver on the promises they promised to get you to vote for them in the first place, and the working classes are still bent over a pub bench having their trousers pulled down as they wave a flag and hope that it'll stop them from hurting so much. But at least we got Susanna Reid asking all the tough questions again. Okay, I mean, she must care. She seems so passionate about the questions she's asking so emphatically. That means she really does care, doesn't it? Just like Richard Madeley. I mean, where the fuck is Ranveer Singh? I want to see what dress she's wearing. Brooklyn Beckham might post an embarrassing video of Victoria Beckham at a wedding reception, as if she's the first woman to get pissed at a party and make a tit of herself. What came first in Norwich city centre? The pigeons or the food stalls? Should we kill the pigeons, or maybe people who want to eat their food outside should just shut the fuck up and accept the fact that the pigeons eat too? You know, is social media destroying the lives of our children, or is it because parents are too busy trying to keep a roof over their heads and they're not present enough to monitor what their children are up to? Or are they just plain ignorant fucking stupid cunts who won't take the time to explain to the bastard offspring that they've brought into the world that you know, just because a man with an expensive car, an expensive suit and a Russian model that he's probably paid to stand next to him, because every woman that actually does know him in real life has either got him wrapped around their little finger or doesn't want to be seen with a man who's such a fucking gimp. You know, maybe that's not the best person to be listening to, and you should explain that to your children. You know, explain to them the sales, the concept of sales and marketing, fantasy and reality, materialism, and the fact that it really is what is on the inside that counts most of the times. Okay, teach them right from wrong, good manners, and all the basic things a decent parent should teach their fucking kids, instead of relying on the teachers, at reception to learn them how to wipe their ass and introduce them to the importance of reading, okay? Or are the parents themselves also addicted to social media? No, why should I teach my own kids to do stuff when they get paid to do it in reception instead? Why should I bother? You know, I wonder what David Beckham thinks about Brooklyn Beckham expressing himself on social media. And should Brooklyn release the embarrassing footage of Victoria Beckham at a wedding? You know, while my little fucking bastards grow up to wreak havoc on their own doorstep as I post Facebook memes about the state of the country, how young people are becoming more and more disrespectful, and if it weren't for all these people coming over on the boats, that I would have been a responsible parent. You know, and what does pop legend Peter Andre think about social media? He seems like a man that has got his finger on the pulse. Let's ask him. You know, who the fuck cares? You know, who the fuck is invested in all these stupid fucking cunting celebrities? You know, and why the fuck am I also watching it? You know, will Brooklyn Beckham release that video of Victoria Beckham behaving embarrassingly at a wedding reception, or won't he? How embarrassing can the video of Victoria Beckham really be? I don't know. You know, the only reason I'd be interested in that video is if she stripped off in the middle of the dance floor, pulled her knickers to one side, took out a dildo out of her handbag and started fucking her own pussy with it. You know, do we get to see what she goes like when she comes? Did she put a finger up her anus? And she's, you know, does she moan a lot and tell us that she's, you know, what else is there that we don't already know about Victoria Beckham besides what she goes like when she comes? You know, or then does she shit herself? Alright, is that what it is? Is that the embarrassing footage that Brooklyn was talking about? You know, there's all of us dumb fucking cunts in Zombieland thinking that it was something sexual, when in fact it was something bowel related. Yeah, she was so drunk she didn't realise that she just shit her knickers, and while she was busting moves and cutting a rug on a dance floor to a Jennifer Lopez song, you know, a turd fell out from between her legs and she slips on it and is so drunk she thinks someone dropped the Cadbury's cream egg, and she's laughing uncontrollably as David Beckham pulls her away by the foot, and the last thing we see is a big brown streak going from the dance floor all the way out into the ladies' toilets that Brooklyn Beckham follows with his camera phone, at which point David Beckham bursts out of the toilet door, red-faced. "Oh, I'm so sorry about your fucking mother, son. She promised me she wouldn't drink anymore. She fucking stinks. Oh, I've never seen so much shit come out of a woman so fucking small. Fucking embarrassing cunt. Happening pairs up the stairs." You know, Victoria Beckham can be heard in the background singing Jenny from the Block. You know, or is it just a PR stunt? Okay, for a new documentary about the Beckhams that's coming out on Netflix. You know, has one of them got a book coming out soon? Are the Spice Girls getting back together? I'm sure that footage is monetized or, is going to be sold off. I mean, otherwise, why the fuck would we be talking about it? Okay? All morning. Now, maybe Brooklyn Beckham is probably going to be the face of a social media charity for teenagers with embarrassing parents. Here's Andy Peters hawking ITV's ways again. I'll quickly ring that number. You never know. You've got to be in it to win it. Adverts again for car finance, dry vaginas, more women's leakages, gambling, credit cards, postcode lottery, pure cremation. People can't even afford a decent burial now. And you're all going to fucking die anyway. You're all going to fucking die anyway. Especially you poor fuckers who don't have enough money to leave behind to pay some vicar to fuck up your eulogy, because he's deaf as a fucking post and play your favourite songs as you burn in your box that cost the best of £1,000 after your children stand behind a podium and not talk about how much of a disappointment you were to them and as a father and as a person all round, because it's not polite to say something, like he was a horrible, miserable cunt at a funeral, is it really? Now you don't need to do any of that shit, okay? It's either pay £1,000 to cremate your corpse, without all the pomp and ceremony, or maybe, just maybe, they'll leave you in a fridge at the hospital morgue for the ghost of Jimmy Savile to fuck. That Pepto-Bismol advert. I mean, not only have we got leaking vaginas, itchy fannies, and, or creams for the ones that have dried up, we also have our brain bombarded with the idea of some workman with indigestion, okay, probably from eating too quickly, probably because he's got to get to work. He's breaking wind, almost following through and shitting his pants in the middle of a greasy spoon cafe where everybody else is eating. Your upset stomach, diarrhea. Fuck the cornflakes. I'll have a cigarette instead, okay? Fuck it, it's out of time. I gotta go to work. Man. January has always been the worst month of the year for me, as far back as I can remember. Whether it was when, I was going back to school, when I was a kid, and having the kids taking the piss because I was wearing the same shoes as I was before Christmas, or all the way up to when I was in my last job, having to go back to work and put up with some fucking dewy you can't beat around the head without having to face the full consequences of the law. I mean, for all those that don't know what a dewy is, if you've ever worked on a building site or in a factory, okay, doing manual work, the guy who's the most inexperienced is usually referred to as a joey. Well, it's the same kind of thing, except it's based more on something that's personal to me, alright? If I have a work colleague that's a rat, I call him a dewy, alright? And if there's anyone watching this right now thinking, wait a minute, but my name's Dewi, get over yourself, alright? Just fucking get over yourself. You're not the only person in the world called Dewi, especially in Wales. So if your name is Dewi and we've never met, it's very probable that I'm not talking about you. I mean, I've known about at least 10, 15 people in my life that I've worked with over the years that I've referred to as being a Dewi, even though that isn't their real name. Okay, from as far back, I started working over 35 years ago, alright, and whether it be roofing, labouring, factory work, management, in waste management, retail, I have always referred to that one person you have to put up with that's horrible in every job as being a Dewi. So don't start getting all on the defensive, okay, if your name is Dewi. It's not my fault your parents gave you a stupid sounding name that is the exact same name me and my dad used to use when referring to a person on a building site who we thought was a cunt. He's a fucking Dewi, you said. Yeah, watch your back with him. He's a fucking Derry snake. Proper Derry, that one. Yeah. And besides, the amount of times that I've heard the name Kevin being used by comedians on their Netflix specials as being the name of someone stupid, I should be able to claim for defamation of character by now. But yeah, I'm not selfish enough to think that just because a comedian uses my name, you know, Kevin, for a character in a routine, that the comedian, you know, I'm not sat there thinking, you better not be talking about me. You know, saying that, you know, when I started my last job, which I got made redundant from recently, you know, it was the exact same job I walked out of 10 years previous to that. Same exact job, but for a different company. I knew I fucked up and had gone backwards in life when I had to work next to someone who I would very much describe as being a stereotypical one of the top boys. I'm a bad boy. I like driving fast in my car. Nobody messes me where I'm from. I'm thinking, you're a 25-year-old man trying to act like a gangster and speaking to me as if I don't know shit about shit, when the truth is, I'm doing my best to get away from the very same lifestyle you're fucking bragging about. You know, I've just got back from Glasgow because I thought it was going to help me change my ways, but hey, here I am, a couple of months later, back in sunny Cardiff again, with another fucking hangover at the beginning of another year, stood in another freezing cold depot, working for another company that won't fork out to fix the heater, and staring into a shit-stained sanitary bin full of bloody tampons and dirty syringes from the homeless shelter, doing the exact same job I vowed a decade earlier that I would never, ever do again, and having to listen to some boy racing fuckhole wannabe bad boy who models himself on Vin Diesel from those fucking Fast and Furious movies for morons, and you know, he's completely oblivious to the fact that I already know someone that lives around the corner from him who tells me that you know, he's regarded as being the village idiot. I'm one of the top boys, I'm one of the top boys. No, you're not. Apparently you're the one the top boys call when they need a lift, you fucking simp. You know, the only time the top boys are, you know, whenever the top boys are having a party, okay, you're not invited until they need a lift to the petrol station at 3 o'clock in the morning to get more Rizzlers. And you're so desperate for some street cred and a bit of company that you're actually willing to do it without even offering, you know, them offering you any cash. They're all laughing at you behind your back, and you fucking know it. Which is why you have to dominate all the new or more quieter and weaker people in the workplace to compensate for the fact that you're not a face to be feared around where you're from. Okay, you're the one that everybody takes the piss out of. I put a bar stool across a bouncer's head Friday night in the local pub. I went back to my house, took my dad's sawn-off shotgun from out under his mattress. I went down to the club and I hit the bouncer with the gun. And I told the landlord, I said, I'm going to come down here with my boys and I'm going to fucking torch the place. Yeah, there was fucking ructions, there was. Don't mess with me, I'm one of the top boys, I'm one of the top boys. You know, I'm looking over at one of the other workers there, trying not to burst out laughing. You know, I'm trying not to burst out laughing, and this thick cunt is so fucking backwards and impressed with himself, he thinks everybody believes him. You know, on my first week, about 5 different people warned me about it, and I'm like, hey, don't believe anything that comes out of that prick's mouth, okay? He's a lying rat, okay? He's a rat. I mean, you know someone is exceptionally unpopular in the workplace when the majority of people he's working with are already secretly recording his conversations and videoing his erratic behaviour on their mobile phones, so that when one of them finally does snap and give him a smack in the mouth, there's overwhelming evidence as to the exact reasons why. You know, I have never been so tested in my life. 2 years on the trot, after having to go back into work in the new year, after having a few nice days off for the Christmas, I had to have a friend talk me down, okay, on the phone, for talking me down from wanting to hit this guy that I had to work with or smashing up his car. I'm on the phone, I'm like, hey Pete, look, I'm worried. If I go in tomorrow and he starts, I'm going to split his face open with a fucking shovel. I can't take it anymore, I'm going to lose it. I remember showing a friend the footage that I secretly recorded on my tablet and footage that other people had gave me on their phones, okay? My mate couldn't believe it. He's like, dude, that's sexual assault. Okay, you've got over 20 clips of him running up and smacking your ass when you're trying to work. Not to mention at least another 10 clips of him grabbing at your crotch whenever you're walking past. What the fuck? If he was doing that to a woman, he'd be prosecuted. I can't believe you haven't done anything yet. You know, he's on camera talking about when the supervisor comes back to work, how he's going to slice his throat open with a Stanley blade and send the N-word's head back to Ghana. The fuck, Kev? You know, you need to speak to management, get him fired. What the fuck? And he's right too, I should have, but, you know. I don't want to rock the boat or be seen as a grass. Don't want to offend the boys, do we? You know, well, we wash our own laundry down here, but, yeah, anybody that goes upstairs and talks to management is a fucking dead man. Oh, yeah. Well, why is there recordings of you that were taken outside of the office, of you grassing everybody up? You know, not because they were spying on you just for the sake of it, but because you were lying so much to everyone, okay, and being such a two-faced, backstabbing, coked-out snide out of your fucking mind that everybody needed evidence to back them up in case they got into trouble thanks to you being a fucking grass, always cozying up to management every time you're on a come-down because you worried you might get suspended for touching me up, you fucking dirty, filthy fucking step. Man, you know, I've just been up there in the office giving them erections, I have. Giving them erections. Yeah, like fuck. You know, if this is a real-life gangster movie, you'd be the character who gets rolled up in some carpet and put into the boot of the car at the beginning because you can't keep your fucking mouth shut. Oh, I told him what for, I did. I told him what for, fuck off. You know, I still can't believe I let this prick get away with it. I'm ashamed. I am still. Yeah, I was so ashamed that I had allowed it to happen, that my drink and drug intake went through the fucking roof when he left. You know, the last time I looked at that footage that was recorded, okay, you know, after I'd been sober for a year, I nearly fell off the wagon because the amount of rage and anger I had towards him and towards myself for letting him get away with it. It's taken every bit of forgiveness, compassion, and empathy for someone who's a fucking addict to not take it any further than talking about it in these videos. Man, all that pent-up rage, it got to go somewhere, otherwise it's going to take me back to a place I don't want to go to, okay? For about the last 6 years I've had this judicial process going on inside my head, weighing up all the pros and cons. You know, on one side there's me with all this mobile phone evidence and a burning desire to make him pay, and then on the other side there's a panel of fair-minded and humane people trying to help me rationalise and move on. You know, I'm like, Your Honour, as you can see in this footage, every time he's walking past me, he's touching my ass. If I bend over, which I had to do on a repetitive basis due to the physical nature of the job, he runs up and smacks my ass. He thinks it's funny, like he's being one of the lads. The lads fucking hate him. You know, admittedly, the dirty, stinking fucking piece of shit didn't realise that I have major issues with people touching me in this manner. And being a grown man, yes, I should have been able to stand up for myself, but I was at a very low ebb at the time when I came back from Scotland. Okay, I owed some bad people some money, and I thought that if I retaliated, he would find a way to make sure they got rid of me before they got rid of him, and I needed to pay my debt, or I would have been forced to commit a robbery. Okay, and now that I've paid off that debt, been made redundant, had a stroke, sobered up, and got some help, I've started to actually like who I am. And instead of ending it all in a hotel room shower in Amsterdam with a serrated bread life like I was planning, I've decided to hang around and be with my family, but sometimes I'm still fighting the urge to get him back. And, you know, if I could please have your permission to do so, I'd be very grateful, okay? And so would probably every other person that worked in that godforsaken place whose life he made a misery as well. You know, his parents too, I believe. I mean, you know, here's footage of him a week before Christmas in 2016 or 2017, wishing death upon both of his parents if they didn't help him buy the car he wanted. You know, look at him, you know. If they don't give me that car I want, I hope he dies of a fucking heart attack and she has a fucking stroke. They care more about my sister than they do for me. You'd swear they only had one child, fucking fat cunts. You know, did he mean it? No, of course not. Okay, of course not. He loves his parents, without a doubt. Okay, but he's off his fucking nut on drugs. You know, he needs help. Of all people, you know, I know that, but I shouldn't have to put up with it. You know, this is a job, not a fucking drug rehabilitation centre. I'm here to empty bins, not give therapy. I've got enough fucking problems of my own, and I know he's young, but at the very least, can I just give him a smack, please? Then the panel, okay, the humane, fair-minded panel, like, look, Kev, you it's been a long time, okay? It's a long time ago, and judging by that footage, he's obviously, you know, we're only an armchair psychologists, but he's probably been bullied most of his life because he's a fucking ugly cunt that he looks like one of the characters from that Ferrell family in that Wes Craven movie, The Hills of Eyes. I mean, look at his ears. They're shaped like Quaver crisps. You know, it would be much more effective if you just let him carry on being the fucking tool that he is and take comfort in the fact that, you know, he's him and you're you. I mean, you know, imagine being a spirit floating around the void, you know, after you've died, looking for a new body to inhabit, all excited about being reincarnated, you know, floating around, like, oh, I wonder who I'm going to be this time round. Then a big shaft of light appears, you plop out of some Welsh woman's fucking pussy hole, and as the nurse lifts you out of your mother's filth to cut the umbilical cord, you know, you catch a quick glimpse of yourself in a mirror and realise you've come back into the world as that fucking prick. You can't get any worse punishment than that, okay? No wonder he's angry and on the drugs. I know I would be. You know, it's been a long time, Kev. You need to move on and put all your anger into your YouTube videos instead. Okay? Be the better man and forgive. I know you're not the kind of man that describes himself as being a Christian, but you have been christened, and forgiveness is key. Okay? Time to have done something would have been when it happened. Let bygones be bygones. Let it go. Okay, I see your point. You know, I'm glad I got made redundant. I'm glad I had a stroke, to be honest. So, you know, the experience I had, you know, having to endure working with this guy, it's left me traumatized. I swear I got PTSD. You know, I just had to step outside in the cold this morning, and all of a sudden I had a flashback. You know, I'm back in that shithole with him chirping in my ear, waiting for them to grab my ass as I pick up a pair of shit-filled knickers that just dropped out of a sanitary bin brought back from some nightclub in the valleys. And I can just hear him like, duh, I'm out here in the freezing cold having to pay tax, and all these people fucking claiming benefits, you know, are sat at home in the warm with their feet up. It's not fair. They should be made to work or have their benefits stopped. Fucking lazy cunts, a lot of them. There's nothing wrong with them. Fucking lazy, yeah. Yeah, I'm thinking, yeah, well, if it wasn't for morons like you still behaving like a bully in the schoolyard and making your co-workers' lives a misery, then there probably wouldn't be so many people staying at home on benefits now, would there? You know, if there's a choice between staying at home and being paid the bare minimum to survive, or punching your cunt out 40 hours a week and having to take shit off a deformed, double-headed, backward-ass, cokehead fuckbrain that likes to touch other men up and still only get paid the bare minimum to survive without being able to punch you in the face. You know, weighing up those options, I'm probably going to choose to stay at home claiming benefits next time round, okay? Because I don't want to do any jail time for having given in to the urge to put your head through a fucking wall. You know, it's always the cocky, big-headed banter boy filming videos of himself at work, you know, to put up on his social media as if he's the first person to ever stand outside in the cold or the rain, and always making disparaging comments about people on benefits. It's always that exact same person that everybody else at the factory or on the building site fucking hates. Yeah, if there was enough money to go around, they'd all be paying him to stay home. So, no, we don't need you, mate, okay? You know, you're too impressed with yourself. Nobody likes you. Yeah, stay home. Yeah, use your wages. Fuck off. Now, there are hundreds of thousands of people on benefits that could do the same job twice as fast and 10 times better in below zero weather without feeling the need to preen themselves in front of a camera phone to show all their followers how much of an alpha male, how much of a man they are. But, you know, if this means they've got to spend 8 hours a day next to an arrogant prick who uses it's just a bit of banter as an excuse to constantly put them down, then they'd rather stay in bed. Things are still going to get built regardless of whether they or you are working or not. You know, stop acting as if you having a job is the only thing that's standing in the way of an economic crash. It's not always that people don't want to work because they're lazy. It's got more to do with the fact that people don't want to work because they're sick of taking shit off other people when they just want to get their head down and earn their wages. Yet you got all these insecure dickheads trying to live up, you know, all wanting to be seen as being one of the boys, fucking bollocks, at the expense of usually hard-working individuals that couldn't give a toss about all this lad culture, you fucking sheep. You know, believe in everything you read, you know, in the newspaper when you're on your dinner break or whatever. Shit comes up on your... Victoria Beckham at a wedding. If reform gets in, they're going to make this country great again. Look at Kev over there on his own. I reckon he's gay, he is. I think Kevin's gay. The earth is flat and mermaids are real. Hey, fat boy, what are you doing sitting over there on your own? Too good for us, is it? Too shy to come over and sit with the boys, it is. Yeah. Scared you might get a hard on, is it? I bet you whiskey. You know. What's the matter, Kev? Can't handle a bit of banter, is it? Can't take a joke, is it? You fucking fat cunt. So, what team do you support, Kev? What football team do you support? Nah, I don't watch football. Well, you don't watch football? What is that then? Too manly for you, is it? Nah, I just think it's fucking gay, that's all. What did he say? What did he fucking say? What you saying I'm gay, is it? Is that what it is? You saying I'm fucking gay? Well, yeah, if that's how you're going to react. You know, seeing as you like to smack my ass every time I bend over. Yeah, I was just having a bit of banter. But if you can only dish it out and not be able to take it, then you need to shut your fucking mouth until you've earned your real man card. Instead of just trying to impress the boys and be part of the crew, you know, you have to earn the right to banter with someone first. You know, didn't anybody tell you, you fucking child? You know, that's the real reason why there's so many rules and regulations regarding what you can or can't say. You know, it's got fuck all to do with, oh, it's the woke mind virus, it is. It's the woke mind virus. It's the left, it is. It's got fuck all to do with that, and everything to do with all the dumb, stupid, backward-ass, basic, unoriginal, follow my leader, fucking thick cunts like you, not having any simple manners and thinking that insulting people for no reason means you're cutting edge or you're standing up for working class culture, when the reality is that you're a fucking embarrassment to it. Alright, you're like a fucking skid mark on the Union Jack. That's the reason why nobody is willing to listen to us working class males anymore, because of dumb fucks like you bringing the side down, you know, and then we all get tarred with the same brush. Fucking, oh yeah, I like to pretend I'm even more stupid than I already am, because, you know, it gives me character. You know, you see, it helps me stand out from the crowd while also being a part of it without having any original thoughts of my own. Yeah, my missus bought me a Burberry scarf and a flat cap for Christmas, and that Marching Powder DVD starring Danny Dyer. Cracking movie, that is. Yeah, it just says it like it is, like me. You know, I says it like it is because I'm working class, you see. I call a spade, I do. Salts of the earth. Oh, you're brave. Thank God we got blokes like you speaking up for us. Fucking stroll on. Wow. Fuck. Well, I nearly got through it without puking. Yeah, it really is a privilege to not be working this winter. I think it's because every job I've had has been working for a company that would much rather save pennies than make sure the staff are warm and comfortable. You know, because the less money that's spent out of the allocated yearly budget in April, the bigger the bonuses for management. You know, that's the real reason why this country is fucked. You know, because the people in charge are incentivised by the people at head office to save money at the expense of those of us on the front line that are keeping that money machine fucking rolling. You know, do I get the heating fixed so that the boys working on the depot floor don't freeze to death, emptying and washing sanitary bins in cold water because the machine that is there specifically to get the bins washed doesn't work either, you know, for the sake of getting a Brucey bonus? Or do I have a bit of integrity and create a healthy and safe environment for them to work in? Oh, let me think. That is a conundrum. What a predicament to be in. That is the last fucking person that should be allowed to be in charge of those that are working. You know, profit over people pillocks. Yeah, if people were actually paid properly for the jobs that they're doing, earning enough to be able to provide for their families and keep a roof over their head without having to scrape by and get into even more debt just to keep their heads above water, you know, people would be a lot more inclined to get up off their asses. They don't want to go above and beyond, breaking their backs for people who haven't got their best interests at heart, okay? Life's too short. Why waste it on people that don't give a fuck? Yeah, that's why sometimes, people change when they start to climb to the top, because sometimes they're incentivized to make your life at work uncomfortable in order to keep them from eating into their budget. So uncomfortable that the only people that are willing to work in that place are those that are desperate enough to put up with it. Just so they can afford to get wasted on the weekend, so they can forget about it all until they go back into work on Monday. That's why everyone on the ground are at each other's throats, because they're working while on a massive come down from getting wrecked on the weekend, because they've had a fuckful of being trapped in this endless cycle of killing themselves to live. They start to take it out on each other and pick on those that can't or won't fight back. Then one Monday, when that person they've been taking it out on doesn't turn up for work because they've hanged themselves from some tree in a local woods, the same fucking cunts who are being shitty to that person suddenly become advocates for men's mental health and are making tributes and doing collections for the family. It's all about them again. Man, how about you treat them right when they're actually here? When they're actually working right next to you. That way then you won't have to experience the crushing guilt that you'll eventually have to keep blocking out with even more drink and drugs that leads you to being even more of a disrespectful fucking cunt to people. When you're either high or hungover until nobody fucking likes you anymore, and you feel so shitty about yourself and the way that you've behaved that eventually no amount of drinks or drugs stop you from feeling guilt anymore, and you yourself are the one who's now sat at the top of a tree with a rope around your neck, staring into the void and getting ready to jump. I could have avoided all this. If I didn't worry so much about what the boys think, and just got on with it, instead of being a wanker to everyone. Maybe if I just kept my head down and stopped taking my insecurities out on him, then he wouldn't have did what he did, and I wouldn't be here either doing what I'm about to do. Yeah, now you're thinking. Okay, now you're fucking thinking. May I suggest you get down from that tree, use the feeling you've just felt while you were sat up there getting ready to jump to remind yourself about the consequences of being a bully and a prick. Maybe you can start treating people you have to share the same space with the same level of respect that you yourself require in order to feel comfortable enough to get through a week's work without having to cause so much aggro and hope it spreads. Then when you need to stand up to management or the ignorant cunts up in head office because they won't pay for the heater to get fixed, you'll all be able to stand up together and as one, instead of being a fragmented bunch of bitter cunts killing themselves for a company that wouldn't piss on you if you were burning. We all need to stick together, because otherwise nothing's ever going to change. Not really. Oh, well, you're a communist, are you? Fuck. Forget it. Fucking carry on. And, I'm just trying to help is all. Do whatever you want to do. I'm too old. I'm too fucking tired. Keep on picking sides and joining teams. Whatever floats your boat. I'll stay over here on my own. Just leave me the fuck out of it. As a 17-year-old boy, where I was doing a fiddle with my father on a building site in Bristol, okay, there was nothing more satisfying than seeing some mouthy prick with a 1988 Bonk and Booze the Best Tour t-shirt get a cement trowel right in the face for calling somebody titch one too many times when he was already told not to. Trying to impress everyone. At the expense of this guy he thought wouldn't fight back. You know, me and my dad were felting the roof on top of the nightclub, and all of a sudden there's this high-pitched scream, and this mouthy dickhead is holding his hands over his face. You know, blood pissing out from between his fingers, and this smaller chubby lad is punching fucking to him, like landing proper blows to the side of his head and his ribs. You know, heavy, thick strings and gobs of blood just flying everywhere each time he got hit. His hands got knocked off his face, and his cheek was like it was like a big flap, like a sole when it's hanging off the bottom of a shoe. You know, and you could see everybody holding back from getting involved and intervening. You know, not because they were scared or because they were in shock. You know, the reason no one intervened is because they wanted to make sure that this cunt learnt his lesson. You know, and also, yeah, it was just a real pleasure to watch this chopsy fucker who'd spent the last few days constantly shouting out, playing the big man, making comments about everybody's personal appearance, including mine, fucking wolf whistling at any woman that walked past. You know, it was both a pleasure and a privilege to watch him get proper fucking filled in, proper. Fuck. You know, if there was camera phones back then, it probably wouldn't have happened, but as soon as he was on his ass, the small guy kicking his legs, and you know, he blew his nose over him and just walked off, lighting up a cigarette and high-fiving others on his way out. Later on, when the police come round, we're all like, you know, I didn't know anything happened. I heard a bit of a commotion. It's only now you've pointed out all that blood that I've noticed that I can't help you, officer. Sorry, I can't help you. Yeah, you know, seeing this dickhead holding his white, blood-drenched 1988 Bonk and Booze the Best tour t-shirt on the side of his face, crying as he got into the ambulance, would have made a superb fuck around and find out meme or a clip that most definitely would have gone viral. You know, everybody clapping, he fucking wanker. You know, and next day they're both back in work. You know, the Dewi got a bandages wrapped around his head, shutting the fuck up. And the other guy's just getting on with it, doing whatever he's being paid to do, exactly how it fucking should be. Lesson learned. But, you know, going back to what I was saying earlier, I said this before in an episode, but I guess I need to reiterate. I mean, don't misunderstand me regarding what I said earlier about football. Okay, I'm not saying that there's anything at all wrong with being gay. Okay, yeah, I had a dabble back when I was experimenting with drugs. Okay, not for me, but yeah, you know, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with being gay. What I'm saying is, if you're a grown man that gets so emotional about a ball game, all right, whether it be football or rugby, you know, if you get so emotional about a ball game that you are not even competing in, and you start to cry if your team, you know, loses, then you're a fucking cocksucker. Alright, and you should be deported or sent to war. If there's a war with Russia, then you should be made to fight on the front line with only an old rifle from World War II that hasn't even been tested since the 1940s, and a tin helmet that has absolutely no chance of protecting you from modern day artillery. You know, within the first 15 minutes of being in the war zone, you'd be walking along and you know, your helmet flies off with the top of your head still in it. You know, somebody blows a whistle, and in between all the explosions and the gunfire, either Sergeant Finders or Captain Birdseye comes along with a bag of frozen peas, drops one in the hole in your skull, glues the helmet back on, and suddenly you're up and well again. Remember the time when Wales almost won the match and we went to the pub and talked about it for the next 10 fucking years? Gone again. Yeah, you know, I think if you all had to have an IQ test to get into a football match or a rugby match, you know, during ball game season, yeah, the stadiums all over the country would probably be empty. There'd probably be about 6, maybe 7 people there at most, and 3 of them would probably be stewards directing the other 4 people who were intelligent enough to be allowed to watch the match to the toilet. Yeah, toilet's over there, mate, on your right. Okay, yeah, yeah. I guarantee there's someone watching right now that's getting properly triggered. What did he say? What did he fucking say? Did you hear what he said about football? You know, he just took the piss out of the bestest ball game. Football is the bestest ball game for the bestest people. Football is the bestest ball game there is. It's a beautiful game of both physical skill and mental strategy. And this fucking cunt is saying that all his people that like it are stupid. Okay. You know, rugby too. Oh, you better watch your mouth, but rugby is a beautiful game of both strength and... I'm fucking joking. Alright, you fucking stupid cunts. But 2 of my closest friends have sons who are professional footballers. You know, my friends, they love the game, watching it. Okay, me, I have no interest in watching it. I just like playing it. I mean, I haven't seen my mate John since the summer before Christmas, okay, because he's working away in Budapest. And, you know, I called over his house just after Christmas to see him, and he's getting all in a huff because West Ham, not West Ham, just say Villa. Yeah, he's getting in a huff because Aston Villa are playing a match, and he's watching on the television, and, you know, he knows I'm going to take the piss. He's got, watching gay ball, are you, John? Ooh, look at all those men in shorts. Ooh, that one there, he's got a lovely set of thighs on him. Oh, I bet you'd love to be a fly on the walls in the changing room after full time, wouldn't you, mate? Yeah, fuck off, Kev. Oh, what did Santa bring you for Christmas, John? Subbuteo. Ooh. You know, fuck off, Kev, you fucking fat cripple. Hey, that's the spirit. That's the spirit. You know, Subbuteo is taking it a bit too far, I think. If you're still able enough to get outdoors and have a kick around, okay, when the weather gets milder, but you'd rather play Subbuteo, okay, you are most definitely a fucking lazy cunt. Okay, we've got PlayStations now with vibrating hand controllers and the FIFA games that you can play on your 40-inch flat screen television with realistic sound, immersive gameplay, and you can compete from the comfort of your living room with not only your mates but different people from all over the world. Why the fuck would you want to run around the table, you know, with your gout, you know, going... Aussie ID, Glenn Huddle, you know, the goals for that. What the fuck? What the fuck? You know, what talk about fucking waste of time. Oh, what did he say? What did he fucking say? I play Subbuteo. Fucking Welsh cunt. Subbuteo is a classic tabletop game of skill and dexterity that still has high popularity all over the world. I spent 15 grand having my loft converted into a stadium so me and my mates could hold a tournament. But I've got arthritis in my fingers now from working in the freezing cold because they won't fix the heating, and this fat Welsh bald bastard making fun of my favourite ball game has triggered me. And you know, look at him with all his DVDs. Couldn't make a film yourself, could you, mate? No, so you've got to collect and watch films that other people have made instead, you know, and make the fun of hobbies of patriots like myself that enjoy a beautiful game of football. And I've got to stop wobbling my head. I think you get the point, don't you, folks? Okay, I think you get the point. Alright. Hope you all had a good Christmas. Hope this year's a good one. Alright, and I'll see you on the next episode, okay? Thank you for watching, folks. Thank you. Bye.